All right, everybody. So what we are going to do is we're going to go through this PowerPoint together, and I'm going to walk you through how to write a CER. So CER stands for Claim, Evidence, and Reasoning, and you need to know this to be able to write a conclusion in science. It's a little bit different than how you would typically write in any other class, and so I'm going to walk you through the steps to make sure that we all know how to write one. So what I'm going to do is go through this PowerPoint, and while I'm going through this PowerPoint, you should have your guided notes out in front of you, and you should be writing in the answers as we go, or typing them in if you're on a computer. And then you can always refer back to this video if you feel like you need another round of practice or another reminder on how to write a claim, evidence, and reasoning. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is who was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. What do you think? No opinions? Okay, so you might have said Tom Brady. However, in 2017, if we actually analyze data, which is what we do in science, you would find that the best quarterback would be Russell Wilson with the total touchdowns of the season for 2017. So, again, we can't have opinions in science. We have to actually use the data and the data tables. So that's what we're going to use to actually conclude who was the best quarterback for the 2017 NFL season. So for claim, evidence, and reasonings, when you are writing them, you will always be given a question that you have to analyze and then give a response to. And so the question here is, who was the best quarterback? And so I have an example of a claim, evidence, and reasoning, and I will read it for you, and then we will walk through the different parts. Okay, sorry about that. I was having some technical difficulties. Ha ha ha. All right, so my answer would be that Russell Wilson was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. He had 34 total touchdowns. He had the most total touchdowns compared to any other quarterback. Therefore, he was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. So this is a prime example of what a claim, evidence, and reasoning looks like. And we're going to go through each of the parts, and we're going to explain why each of these are our claim, evidence, and reasoning. So what are the three parts of CER? They are the claim, evidence, and reasoning. And we like to represent these three things with a stoplight, because a stoplight has three colored lights. So the claim, we're always going to talk about it being the red, evidence is yellow, and green is go. And we are going to start with the claim. So the claim is a sentence that answers the question being asked. So again, you're filling in the blanks on your guided notes. You should not start with yes or no. So if I asked you who was the best quarterback in the 2017 season, you wouldn't start with yes, Russell Wilson is the best. Okay, never start with yes or no. You also do not want to use pronouns. So just like when we write a hypothesis, you want to leave pronouns out of the claim, evidence, and reasoning, because again, it's not really your experiment. You're not really calculating who was the best quarterback. You're just analyzing the data and then reporting it in your claim, evidence, and reasoning conclusion. And it also can describe the relationship between the dependent and the independent variables. So in this case, the independent variable would be the quarterback, and the dependent variable would be the touchdowns, because the amount of touchdowns depends on the quarterback. So our claim, like we said, is that Russell Wilson was the best quarterback in the 2017 season. So again, the question that we were asked was, who was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season? Your claim is just the answer to the question. Russell Wilson was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. Again, this has to be a full sentence. You want to make sure that you rephrase the sentence so that the person who is reading this knows what you're talking about, even if they couldn't see the question that's being asked. Again, you don't want to just say, Russell Wilson was the best. The next part that we have is the evidence, and the evidence is a list of data that used that supports the question and the claim. The data that's collected during the experiment, and the observations or numerical data. The research that you do from a cited reputable source. So the evidence is really just all the facts of the it's all the facts of the experiment or observation, and you're just listing them, okay? The data that's collected, observations and numerical. So observations is something like the leaves are changing color, okay? Or the leaves change color from green to yellow. That's an observation. Numerical data would be like our example that Russell Wilson scored 34 touchdowns. And the research, again, that could be something that you could say in a study, it was found that Russell Wilson scored 34 touchdowns. So again, your list of data doesn't say why you think something happened. It just says how. It just says that this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened, okay? Or this is this piece of data, this is this piece of data, and it just lists those for the experiment. So in our example, he had 34 total touchdowns. Again, it's just a sentence that just reads the data table for you, or it's reading your observations. He had 34 total touchdowns. If you went back to the data table, you would see that he had 34 total touchdowns. You don't want to say why. You don't want to say because. You just want to say that he had 34 total touchdowns. It's listed in the data table. That's it. Okay. You could also go on to say he had 34 total touchdowns. Tom Brady only had 32 total touchdowns. And you could just list things from the data table. But in this case, this is enough for evidence. And the last part is the reasoning. So this is where you actually explain why. And this is where you use your science vocabulary and your analysis vocabulary, like increasing, decreasing, more than, less than. This is where you actually use those comparing words. So you compare all the data that you're actually explaining. And you always want to end with a concluding sentence that starts with something like therefore. Okay, so when you're explaining why and the reasoning, you want to make sure that you use this analysis vocabulary so that you're telling the reader that you actually know why Russell Wilson having 34 touchdowns is the best quarterback, or why that makes him the best quarterback. Sorry. So why does Russell Wilson, why is he considered the best quarterback in 2017? You're saying why you think that now, okay? And so you're actually analyzing using the vocabulary. Again, you want to use comparative words like it's increasing, it's decreasing, he has more than, he has less than. That's where you're actually comparing the data. And then you always want to end with a concluding sentence that starts with therefore. And so I'll read you my reasoning. Is that he had the most touchdowns compared to any other quarterback. Therefore, he was the best quarterback of the 2017 NFL season. So he had the most. We're comparing. He had the most total touchdowns compared to any other quarterback. I'm comparing his data of 34 touchdowns to all the other touchdowns from the other quarterbacks. And so he had the most. That's comparing the data. In your reasoning, we compare the data, we analyze it, and then we have a concluding sentence or a concluding phrase, which would be, in this case, therefore, he was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. Again, this sentence or this phrase right here is actually what I originally claimed. So therefore, he was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. My original claim was that Russell Wilson was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. Okay, so again, the reasoning is you're telling why, the data explains your claim, and you are kind of summing everything up, and it should always be in this format, okay? Don't overthink it. Please use this example when you go to actually write claim evidence and reasonings, and we're going to go over this in class as well. Again, just so you guys have it all together. So, who was the best quarterback in the 2017 season? My claim, Russell Wilson was the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. My evidence that he is that he had 34 total touchdowns. Okay, what does that evidence mean? Why do you think that evidence provides the reason why Russell Wilson is the best? Is because he had the most total touchdowns. So 34 total touchdowns is the most total touchdowns compared to any other quarterback. Therefore, he is the best quarterback in the 2017 NFL season. Okay? So that is what we have for our claim evidence and reasoning. You guys are going to be doing practice on writing claim evidence and reasoning. And again, this is just practice. So you should use this video as an example, come back to this example, and use it to your advantage if you need help writing CERs in the future.